Today I want to talk about cats in the Philippines. And I want to do it the way I do everything on this channel, which is honestly without pretending things are nicer than they are. I've been posting about different breeds and popular pets for a while now, but I realized I haven't really talked about cats the way they actually exist in my country. So that's what this video is about. Let me start with something that I think is genuinely interesting about pet culture here. If you've ever scrolled through Filipino pet content online, you've probably noticed something. Most of the cats and dogs you see aren't purebred. They're mixed. They've got a little of this, a little of that, and nobody really knows the full mix. And there's a very simple reason for that. In the Philippines, it's still common for people to let their cats and dogs roam freely. They're pets, but they're outdoor pets. They come home to eat and sleep, but during the day they go wherever they want, which means they also mate with whoever they want. So over generations, the result is a very large population of beautiful, sturdy, mixed-breed cats and dogs that carry a little bit of everything. This isn't a bad thing. Actually, many vets will tell you that mixed-breed animals tend to be healthier than purebreds because they don't carry the same genetic conditions that come from selective breeding. But it does mean that the cat you see on the street might look completely different from the one in your neighbor's house, even if they're cousins. The cat version of this local mixed breed is called Puspin. That's short for Pusang Pinoy, which just means Filipino cat. And in 2026, there's actually been a real cultural shift in how Filipinos see these cats. Instead of looking past them in favor of expensive imported breeds, more and more people are starting to appreciate Puspins for what they are. You'll see them described now with proper pattern names like Philippine Tabby, Calico, or Tuxedo, depending on their markings. They're not just street cats anymore. They're being recognized as a distinct part of Filipino culture. And I think that's a meaningful shift. But I also want to be honest about the less comfortable parts of the story, because if I'm going to talk about cats in the Philippines, I can't skip the difficult stuff. When I was growing up, the relationship between Filipinos and their pets, especially cats, wasn't always kind. Some people were openly cruel toward neighborhood animals. Cat abandonment was common. Instead of spaying or neutering a cat, some families would wait for it to have kittens and then dump the kittens somewhere else to deal with the problem. And in some parts of the country, especially rural areas, dogs were still sometimes used for food, which is a practice that continues to be controversial and is actively being challenged by animal welfare advocates. None of this is something I say with judgment toward every Filipino. Attitudes toward animals are shaped by culture, by economic conditions, and by what people grew up seeing. If you grew up in a household where the dog was just a guard animal and nobody talked about pet welfare, that's what you knew. Change happens slowly. And the change is happening. I can see it clearly just by looking at social media. More and more Filipinos are treating their pets as actual family members. People are spending money on proper food, on vet visits, on toys and accessories. There are active communities of rescue advocates who go out of their way to trap stray cats, get them vaccinated, and find them homes. The love for animals is growing, and social media has a lot to do with it. Seeing people from all over the world post about their pets, talk about responsible ownership, share the emotional bond they have with their animals, that content travels. And it's changing how younger Filipinos think about their own pets. Now let me talk about something specific that's making a real difference on the ground, and that's the TNVR movement. TNVR stands for Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Return. It's a humane approach to managing stray and community cat populations. Instead of rounding up stray cats and putting them down, which used to be the default approach in many areas, TNVR programs catch the cats, get them neutered so they can't reproduce, vaccinate them against diseases like rabies, and then return them to the area where they were found. The logic is that neutered cats don't produce more kittens, so the population naturally decreases over time. And the vaccinated cats that remain actually help protect the community from diseases. It's a smarter long-term solution than culling, and it's been proven to work in cities and communities around the world. In the Philippines, TNVR is still growing as a movement. Some local government units have started supporting it, and there are volunteer groups in many cities who run their own TNVR operations without government funding. The progress is slow, but it's real. The Philippine national budget for 2026 also includes a specific allocation of around 10 million pesos for animal welfare and the accreditation of animal rescue organizations. That's a signal that animal welfare is starting to be taken seriously at a policy level, not just as a passion project for individual advocates. 10 million pesos isn't a huge amount in the context of a national budget, but the fact that it exists at all is meaningful. Let me talk about the mental health angle for a moment because I think it's something people don't connect often enough. Recent studies from 2025 and 2026 have been looking at pet ownership in the Philippines specifically, and one of the consistent findings is that having a pet is one of the top factors helping young adults and people who live alone manage stress and loneliness. That's not surprising to me at all. I live alone. I'm in social isolation by choice and by necessity, and my dogs are genuinely part of what keeps me going. They're the reason I get up in the morning. They're the reason I work when I don't feel like it. The responsibility of having a living creature depend on me creates a structure and a purpose that I might not have otherwise on the harder days. I'm about to get kittens soon, though I'll be honest, the plan has changed a few times and I'm still figuring out the details. I'm not sure yet if I'll get 1, 2, or 3. I want to make sure I can actually care for them properly before I commit. Because getting a pet isn't just a cute decision. It's a commitment. Cats need proper food, clean water, regular vet visits, vaccinations, and attention. They're not decorations. They're living creatures with needs. And in the Philippines, where many families are still in difficult economic situations, that reality is something worth being honest about. Not everyone who wants a cat can actually afford to care for one properly. And that's one of the reasons the TNVR movement and adoption programs are important, because they help manage the population of cats who don't have owners while also connecting animals with families who are ready to take care of them. There's also a distinction worth making between indoor cats and community cats. Indoor cats in the Philippines can include breeds like Persian, Siamese, or domestic shorthairs, and they tend to be kept in apartments or smaller homes where they're fully dependent on their owners for food and care. These cats often need more attention in terms of grooming, temperature management, and mental stimulation, especially because they don't have the freedom to roam. Community cats, which include puspins and other mixed breeds that live in shared spaces, are much more independent. They're often healthier because their outdoor lifestyle keeps them active. Many of them interact with people daily and have informal caretakers, neighbors who leave food out or keep an eye on them without formally adopting them. This kind of arrangement is actually quite common in Filipino neighborhoods, and it's its own kind of relationship between humans and animals. In terms of the tropical climate here, cats generally adapt well. They tend to seek shade during the hottest parts of the day and are more active in the cooler mornings and evenings. Outdoor cats and community cats are well suited to the heat because they can find their own comfortable spots. Indoor cats in smaller homes or apartments may need more help staying cool, especially during the summer months when temperatures get genuinely intense. The cultural shift towards celebrating local cats, specifically puspins, is something I find genuinely heartwarming. For a long time, the attitude was that local cats were just strays, while imported breeds were status symbols. And there's still some of that thinking around. But it's being challenged, and that's a good thing. A puspin with a great personality and a family that loves it is worth just as much as any expensive purebred. Actually, given that puspins are usually healthier and more adaptable, they might be the better choice for a lot of families. Before I close, I want to ask you something because I genuinely want to hear from my viewers on this. Do you have a cat, or are you thinking about getting one? And if you're from the Philippines, what's your experience with how pets are treated in your community, whether that's your own family or your neighborhood? Has it changed over the years? Drop it in the comments, because this is the kind of conversation I find genuinely interesting, and your experience matters here. Thanks for watching. If this video resonated with you, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I want to be upfront and share that I use this text-to-speech voice to tell my stories because as a full-time ESL teacher, I have to be very careful with my vocal cords. Managing vocal nodules means I have to save my voice for my students, but I didn't want that to stop me from sharing these unfiltered thoughts with you. I'm Jhonna, and I'm currently working toward my goal of 1,000 subscribers so I can finally monetize this channel and turn this passion into a sustainable part of my future. This is my diary of solo living here in the Philippines, and your support, whether through a comment or a sub, helps me keep this channel growing. If you would like to help out even more, you can check out the buy a treat for my pets link in the description. My dogs definitely appreciate the love. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next update. Thank you for being such an important part of this journey. I'm Jhonna, and I will see you in the next one.